Hi, it's been a while. Did my last few interviews in Glencoe. Not the most flattering positions I've noticed after shooting all the videos. That's all of us lads sitting on low chairs with our bellies sticking out. Even people that didn't have bellies seem to have bellies. Terry Irwin's like a sticky insect. Sorry, Terry. But he doesn't have a belly. And then sitting in these chairs, everyone's got a belly. But I'm sure we'll all rib each other about it afterwards. But very interesting conversations with all the guys. I've been sort of like winding down a little bit since Glencoe, having a think. And, you know, I'm still not recovered from my stroke. I never will be. But and I do bring it up a lot, I know. But it's very important for me to explain why. So a trip to Glencoe wore me out. I was worn out for a few days afterwards. And also ever since the pandemic or before the pandemic or after my stroke, so it's quite a while now, I've been having Tesco's delivered at home because can't face going into shops with loads of people around me. Part of the anxiety that comes from the stroke. And it's things that I planned to get over, but then the pandemic came. So I've also then sort of wound down to finish my Tesco's deliveries at the end of this month, I think it is, which means I'm slowly putting myself out going back to shops. Now that sounds a bit simple to you guys, but trust me, it's not easy. I tend to not do anything unless Jane comes with me. She's sort of my crutch to go out and do things as well, poor Jane. No matter where I go, I want to start swimming again. And I've said to Jane, will you come with me? And it sounds like a 3-year-old kid saying, Mum, 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 will you come? Will you come? But once I've been a few times with Jane or someone else, then I can settle myself down and then go and do it myself and realise it's not as bad as I think it is. Part of the leftovers from the stroke is overthinking everything. And even to the point of going to a swimming pool, I overthink that. Going shopping, I overthink that. I've been out to a few shops recently on my own. Trust me, it's not a very nice experience, especially with IBS as well. It causes horrendous amounts of anxiety. And I'm doing it, and I'm doing it slowly, but it tends to, what happens is I go to get a couple of things. Something will go wrong, which to everyone else is just simple. I went to a local Asda during the week and my card didn't work. Well, actually my card did work, but the stupid machine didn't. But the guy was trying to blame my card, and then I put another card, and then another card, and then even another customer come along and said, let me do it because it was only cheap. And his card didn't work. I said, I've been trying to tell him for 5 minutes that it's his machine, not my card. And in the end, I was just getting stressed, which causes all sorts of problems. And I almost thought to the point, sod this, I nearly walked out of the shop without paying, because I was just getting pissed off with the whole process and very stressed with the process. I think if Jane would have been there, she'd have said, go and wait outside and this, but I have to face these things and I've got to get used to them. So it's just getting used to people and getting used to crowds and getting used to the stupidity of life again. As most of you may know, I've come off nearly all social media, to be honest with you. I've gone back on to Facebook, but don't come finding me because I'm not on there that much, just because of the Glencoe group and then the group that we're trying to do something with next year. I just keep an eye on that and see how things are going, but I don't generally look at Facebook, maybe once a week, if that. And I know a couple of people thought, oh, Matt's back and let's send friend requests and this, that, and the other, but I'm not going to use it for long and it will be gone. I hate social media. I've said about it a million times, but bloody hell, it's a horrible place to be. And once you meet up with your friends again and you see people, you realise that real life is really, really very good and you can have some really good discussions. A lot of my time at the moment is spent walking the dog and not reading, but listening to books. I hate reading. I get to about 2 or 3 pages into a book and I actually get tired. I want to go to sleep. So I found Audible and walking with Jake a lot easier. I'm actually reading Nietzsche at the moment and I'm just about to start War and Peace and Pride of, can't remember what the other one is. But I just one of the books I have just finished is Billy Connolly's latest book. And I've got to say, and I'll put the link below, I'm blown away by his book, written by him, not an autobiography by somebody else. Yeah, it's funny. Of course it's funny. But also the life story in the later part of his life is very interesting. There's some brilliant anecdotes at the end of how we get older and how we get unable to move and the sort of things we do. I'm not going to go into it all. Please read the book. As I say, I'll put the link below. But some of the books I've been reading recently are very easily summed up in Billy's book by in layman's terms, and he's been reading a lot of the philosophers, a lot of Nietzsche stuff, same sort of thing, War and Peace, studying things. I find it incredible that even he said that at a certain age you start to read stuff that you thought you'd never read. And I think a great author said to him that if you can read in the next 5 years what you missed out in the last 20 or 30, then you're getting somewhere. And I actually agree. As I say, I can't read books, but I am really enjoying listening to them. And I think one of the problems with being dyslexic is I can't really understand. When I read a book, I don't know where the full stops and the commas are or what they mean or anything like that. So it's a lot easier to have a book read to me than it is for me to read it and then find I'm not really understanding it and not really putting it into any context. So also I've been doing a lot of my art. I'll show you a few things I've been doing lately and how things are changing. So I've got back to my art and I've been practicing with quite a few different techniques with trees and different colours and landscapes and some of the places and photographs that I've taken and some of the woods and where Jake goes, one of the local shops that I've done, and then I've been doing my, I won't bore you with them all, I've been doing my 100 birds project, just slowly painting 100 birds over the course of this year. I don't know where I'm up to yet, I don't care. I've moved from these bigger pieces of paper now to a book where if I finish the book I know I've done 100 birds. But I did have a go at doing some of the sort of more cartoony landscape type stuff. And then I'm trying to get back to just putting marks on paper and doing things I want to do and making colours I want to make. And I sort of finished up the other week with that one, which I called Spine, and I was having a bit of sciatica that week. And so I incorporated some line drawing from the last one into what looks roughly like a spine. And I hope to carry on doing my art as well. I've arranged, I think, 2 more interviews, one with Claire and one with Chris. If you don't know them, I'll introduce them on the day. I think they're going to be a little bit about life, retirement, mental health, things like that. I know mental health's a topic at the moment, and I know I've got a lot of thoughts on it. And I wanted to start taking my YouTube video podcast style thing into a sort of new dimension soon, and be a little, Billy Connolly come out with something that is so true. I can't be how I really want to be, I don't think. I stopped that ages ago because too many people are offended. I think that's quite sad because I don't ever set out to offend people. It's just times have changed and people just behave in strange sort of ways with cancel culture and everything else. And I sort of want to take my videos towards more what I do mean and what I want to say, because it's the truth really. And we fluff around and fuck about with stuff that shouldn't be messed about with. And you know, some people really need to be told the truth. It's a bit like as a child, you know, I needed to be told how to behave and my kids needed to be told how to behave, and most people's do. Liverpool at the moment has become something I don't understand what's going on here. And it's only a little things I've noticed, and that is we have the highest rate of deaths and injuries on the road in the UK in Liverpool. And guess what? No one wants to do anything about it. The police, the council, nobody. In fact, so much so that I was spoken down to by Merseyside police because of the bad parking in our area. In fact, a car parked on the pavement, and I mean on the pavement, all 4 wheels in the middle of the pavement where I walk every day, and it was there 3 weeks. If that had been anywhere else, it was 3 points and £100 fine, because it was parked near a junction on a pavement. Absolutely bloody ridiculous. Jane went out yesterday and there's cars parked in the central reservation all down Allerton Road where I live. Now, that's absolutely bloody horrendous. And the thing is that because no one cares, everyone seems to be taking the piss and doing what they like. Parking on double yellow lines, parking on pavements, parking in parks, on the grass. It's just got to be absolutely ridiculous now. And so that's what happens to society when everyone just does what the fuck they like and no one does anything about it. So I think I've watched and listened to a few podcasts. I've watched and listened to a few YouTube channels. And one of the overwhelming things is they are very fluffy and nice. And I think I want to take this to the truth. Do you know what I mean? I want to tell you what happens when you have a stroke. I want to tell you what happens with this. I want to tell you what to look out for. You know, I was thinking about it the other day, and my parents gave me loads of information for life. And I used to watch those smoking adverts, and it used to say, if you smoke, you're going to die early, this, that, and the other. Do you know, so I can't ever remember back to a thing saying, if you smoke when you're younger, and you smoke a lot, your arteries are all going to get blocked up, you're going to have a stroke, and you may be in a wheelchair for the rest of your life. I mean, that's the sort of things we need to be telling people. Not that, I know it sounds stupid. If you tell someone you can smoke and you can die, people will look around them and they see hundreds of people smoking and they're not dead. So they carry on smoking. A lot of people give up later on in life. I understand that. But if they told you that actually it's your arteries that are going to, there was a bit of this when we were younger, but if they told me your arteries are going to close up and your feet are going to fall off and your arms are going to fall off and your fingers are going to fall off and you're going to have a blockage in your carotid artery and you're going to have a brain hemorrhage or a stroke or something like that, I think people need to be told the bloody truth these days. And as I say, I'm going to talk to Claire and Chris. I'm doing my art, and a couple of other things I just wanted to mention today is I found out something very interesting going back to the stroke, and that is before I had my stroke, I had an eye test, and there was sort of abnormalities in my eyes that got sort of looked at to be nothing in the end, which were wrong. And also I had a hearing test this week. Now the reason I had a hearing test is because I had the telly up loud, and Jane came home with the telly up full blast and was thinking that if I've got the telly up that loud, then I must be going deaf. And also have my Apple earbud sound up really loud. I have been told now it's because Apple earbuds are shit, and I quite agree they are. So you do have to have them up really loud anyway. But so my hearing's absolutely fine. So it just means I like the telly up loud, probably because I used to like loud music, who knows. But one of the interesting things that came out of the hearing test, and you've got to remember that these sight tests and hearing tests are either cheap or they're very free. With the Hidden Hearing Centre in Liverpool here, a hearing test is free. Now that's bloody amazing, actually. And one of the interesting facts is, he said, have you had any problems with your hearing or tinnitus and this, that and the other? And I said, well, yeah, before my stroke, I had loads of strange noises in the morning. I'd go in the bathroom when it was quiet and there'd be like this pulsing noise in my ear, like you're inside a submarine. And he said, oh, well, that's a red flag. And I said, what do you mean? He goes, well, that's a red flag that we would have referred you to your doctor or a hospital for that. And I thought, well, there you go. So if I'd actually had a hearing test, even though I didn't have a problem with my ears, but so that's what, 2018, 19, 20, 21, 22, 4 years ago. So if I'd had a hearing test, so say I had a hearing test at 50, do you know something? They'd have probably had red flagged the fact that I was going to have a stroke. If I had an eye test, whether I wanted one or not at 50. I always think that one of the things that NHS misses out on is key moments in our life to do something. And I think it could save them a lot of money. Now, maybe I'll be wrong. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe you do an MRI on someone or a scan on someone and they'd find problems that they wouldn't have found for 10 years, which means they wouldn't have had to spend any money on it. But for the cost of a scan, however much that is, let's just call it £300-400. If everyone went for a scan at like 40, 50, 60, 70, 80, on their 10-year anniversary of their life, if everyone went for a scan, if everyone went for a proper checkup, even if it's paid for, and I know some people can't afford it, but you know, there should be a provision for everyone to be able to afford this. And a load of this stuff that happens to us would be found early. And if it was found early, surely someone could do something about it before it get any worse, or warn us, or, you know, maybe my blockage in my neck may not have got that far because I'd have been put on medication that could help earlier. And then if it did get any worse, then maybe an operation. But to do an emergency operation, to do this, that and the other, must cost a fortune. I don't know how much these things cost. And it's the same, you know, I had a test, I think it's at 50, you have certain tests done to say whether you're going to get heart attack or this, that and the other. But I had that test, the next thing you know, my gallbladder's gone, and which, you know, cost another fortune, except I had it done privately because I couldn't wait on the NHS. But I do think we should have a new way of being checked up on. I've got another, talking about NHS and doctors, and I love the NHS, don't get me wrong, and Jane works for the NHS, but Jane had COVID when we come back from Glencoe. Jane had COVID for a couple of weeks. Nothing like it was when it started out. It's all that new head cold thing with sinuses and really, really bad headaches. And it's mostly in the head, not in the chest and anywhere else. But so she was quite bad with it for a couple of weeks. The whole process of getting to speak to a doctor to get a sick note. Now, Jane's not been sick in probably all the time she's worked in the NHS. But the whole process of getting a sick note or getting to talk to a doctor was nigh on impossible, let alone trying to see a doctor. And our doctor used to be quite good. Now, I haven't seen a doctor much ever since I had a lot of problems back in 2018. But it is a real problem. And I did hear that it won't be long now before doctors are a thing of the past and everything's done online digitally, and there'll be a set of questions to answer, and then they'll work out whether you actually need to see one or not, blah, blah, blah. And I think we're heading towards that. think doctors are almost going to be phased out in the future, and you'll very rarely get to see one. And I think that's going to be quite a sad thing. I don't know the answers to the questions. Maybe I'll speak to someone in the NHS at some point during these, and we'll find out about the whys of why we can't have this and we can't have that. So it sounds like a bit of a moany YouTube video today. And I suppose in a way it is, only because I see society in a completely different way, and maybe it's my age. But to have going back to the roads, to have the worst injury rate in the UK for roads on children and adults, that's cyclists and pedestrians, and no one care, I find incredible. And as for the NHS, the way it's going, and I understand everything's being bogged down with COVID, but I wonder how much the flu symptoms of the years have changed over to COVID and what those numbers are balanced out. Because before COVID came along, I seem to remember our hospitals being clogged up with flu patients during the flu season, and over the winter they were always stressed out and full up. So are we just at the levels with flu that we were with COVID? I don't know. This is more questions I probably need to ask someone. And maybe I'll try and find someone in the NHS that wants to try and answer them, or someone that's left the NHS that wants to try and answer those. Who knows? Anyway, have a great weekend. I think that's all I wanted to talk about. I will catch you next time. I can't remember when. I think it's early June. I'm going to do an interview with Chris and Claire. But I'm also on the lookout for doing interviews with other people as well. So if you're interested in doing an interview, if you work in the NHS or even in the police and you want to talk about roads in Liverpool or anything else, any topics you want to bring up that we want to talk about, then get in touch and we'll sit down and we'll do an interview together. Take care. Look after yourself. See you next time.